Welcome back.
Oh, I'm back.
You seated comfortably?
I'm seated comfortably. Broken ankle,
Jeez.
resting high.
Jeez, oh, Pizzo. So
Dear God.
listeners who have been waiting a full week, wondering what happened to last week's recording. You broke your ankle.
I did. I rolled over right on it at the ballet.
Oh my gosh. So I have not heard this story. I intentionally told Chaz, don't tell me anything. We'll just do it all on air. So you were in Europe. Where exactly were you? And give us the full rundown.
So was in Germany, and then Greece, and then Germany, and then Copenhagen, Denmark, for the ballet. The second part, second whole part of the trip, the Germany and the Denmark, was mostly for the ballets. And so there I was sitting outside the Royal Opera House, ready for the Danish Royal Ballet to perform an outdoor extravaganza. So wonderful, packed patio. Was sitting cross-legged, daughter on lap on the cement. A light drizzle started, so the ballet got postponed lightly. I think the daughter was on the lap for a good, 45 minutes, just sitting there on the cement. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to stretch my legs. Stood up, and one leg was dead. And I thought, oh, I'll wake it up by taking a step. And then just heard 3 loud pops and fell right back down.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it wasn't you performing ballet, because I thought that was the story.
Would have been better. Would have been a lot better if I had been. But yeah, I was at the ballet. So I'm still calling it a ballet injury.
So my other thought, or my actually first thought, was that you were drunk.
No, not even boozed at all.
Crazy.
Stone cold sober and busting my ankle at the ballet.
I bet if you were drunk, your body would have been loosened up and it wouldn't have happened.
It would have been no problem. I would have taken a sloppy couple steps and been like, whoa, and been right back down, just normal. I blame
this totally, for sure. So it's so weird. I have never had anything similar to that happen to me until the other day. And so it's so bizarre that that's the actual story. I was doing the exact same thing. I was sitting with Austin on his play mat, playing cross-legged. So your ankles are kind of flexed to a degree that they probably wouldn't normally be for an extended period of time. And I went to just stand straight out of that position, which is a young man's move. You usually want to flip a leg into a standing position and go from there. I just tried to go straight out of seated kind of crisscross position. And I felt a strain in my ankle. And I had a thought to push through it. And then I was like, no, that strain feels different. And so I went back down and adjusted and then got up a different way. But that one strain, I feel like if I would have pushed through it, that would have been a tear. You're frozen.
Am I better?
Yeah, now it's better. Are you at home?
Okay. Yeah, but I'm in the back house.
Oh, okay. Well, it's better now.
Okay.
At any rate, what's the prognosis? You're obviously walking around, right?
Yeah, I'm walking around. I mean, I went to the hospital. I thought I fully broke my foot, but it was not a broken foot. So it was just torn ligaments.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, why'd you come back from Europe?
I shouldn't have, man. I should not have come back. It's a real bummer coming back, I'll tell you.
Why would you?
I mean,
did you have some sort of obligation here or something?
I mean, family, I guess. Sort of, I guess.
All right. Well, that should be stated. That's the reason you were doing the ballet tour, is for Hemi, right?
Yes, exactly. We went to the Staatsballet in Berlin, which, oh my goodness, don't get me started about ballet. Seeing state-funded proper ballet is a whole different world.
What did it do for her?
I mean, I think it just blew her mind. And then she was training in Copenhagen also. So she had 4 hours a day, maybe. But then, training underneath beautiful churches and things like that is a different thing for the brain. So I think her ballet is on a rocket ship.
Good. That's pretty awesome that you guys are able to provide that for her.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard work. Realizing it's all fun and games, but then it's not. Like she's straight back into, yeah, I think she's got to start like 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, starting, yeah, basically now.
That's amazing though. That's what you want for your kid. You want them to be passionate about something. And so to have something that is so good for their, you know, building discipline, good for them athletically and physically and all that kind of stuff, that's incredible. It's way better than if she was passionate about video games.
That's so true. It is so true. And yeah, like now, I mean, me and all the surf parents, how do you not burn them out, right? Like she
Yeah,
loves it. She'll go and go and go, but I don't want her to hit the wall where she's like, but also that's what you got to do. Like if you want to be the best, there's no other way than to do it all the time.
true. But I don't know. It's also cool that the thing that she's passionate about is so steeped in other cultures so that she has like this big cultural component to it.
Exactly. I mean, being over in Europe, of course, yeah, I mean, they each have kind of their different ballets. And so, yeah, I mean, Italian is slightly different from German, which is different from Danish, but it's all like top tier, ridiculous, everything.
Yeah,
Like where the building, oh, there's a ballet in Stuttgart, I mean, and Porsche built the ballet studio.
no way.
Yeah, it's like a ridiculous building.
Incredible. My first trip to Europe was when I was 16, and which is probably young. I mean, a lot of Americans never go to Europe, but it's pretty young, I think, for an American teenager to have the opportunity. And my parents, like my dad, I think did better and better in his career over the years. So when I was real young, our vacations were camping trips and that sort of thing, and just doing road trips. And then eventually we were staying in a hotel, you know, like a Holiday Inn. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is it. I guess my dad is an oil baron because the Holiday Inn is as nice as it could possibly get, you know? But by the time we were 16, he planned a trip to Europe, and it was such a mind blowing experience. I don't know if I would have fully appreciated it when I was younger. But that cultural aspect where it was such a reverence for the food. And even though I wasn't drinking at the time, it still instilled some of the passion that I have for wine to this day, just because of the reverence for wine and the way that they treated it. And didn't, you know, nobody's getting drunk. My only experience with adults drinking when I was young was people drinking to get drunk, probably, or drinking cheap beer, you know. And so where there's no reverence for that, it's just a vehicle to get drunk. So going to Europe and seeing kind of those sort of things, doing a few laps through museums, it was just a mind-blowing experience. And I didn't, again, have a context. I just knew it was a different way of living. There was more leisure packed into it. There was more appreciation for the arts, obviously. And so, yeah, I think that's a phenomenal gift that you've given her.
Do you ever think about packing your family up and just moving on over to Europe?
All the time.
Where would you move?
Think Portugal at this point.
Because surf.
Well, Lauren lived in Positano, Italy for a year.
How did she get to live in Positano for a year?
She did like the first portion of Eat, Pray, Love, basically.
She did the eat portion?
It was like going through a divorce and was like, peace, I'm out of here. I'm going to go like do it. Yeah, she did the eat portion. And so we both have a fondness for Italy. So I think Italy would be a consideration, but Portugal for a lot of other practical reasons.
Will you do it, or will it just remain a dream over the horizon?
We will absolutely do it. The question is whether or not we'll just do like a vacation home and spend 3 months out of the year there, or pack it up and actually go.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're in the prime of our kind of career earning potential right now. And so it's hard to leave at this moment. We want to kind of, take advantage of that as long as we can, but we'll see. What about you guys?
Oh, I mean, it's every time I go, talking about it sounds so cliche. That's the problem, right? But it just feels like home more than home does to me. And so every time
the ideology, right? The ideology and the way that they live their life is what feels like home.
The wife read something this time, which was an interesting perspective of like, that is our home, actually. I mean, us as whatever, Northern European Americans, like that's where the family came from not that long ago.
True. That's a great point. So it's almost encoded in your DNA.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I look around at our neighbors, literally in our neighborhood, I don't have anything in common with any of them. Like, we live in a decent neighborhood. The homes are $1 million. And Lauren was walking Austin and the dog the other day, and in the gutter, 2 streets away, there was a few used condoms and empty Truly cans.
Oh, just a wild party, a wild car party.
Just somebody in their car that's, teenagers probably who live in the neighborhood who don't have a place to banged it out in their car and threw the spent condoms out into the gutter. We're just like, what is happening?
Foul. That is some foul business right there.
Totally. And just sitting on the freeway, all of that stuff just doesn't resonate with us anymore,
Buddy said that, and again, cliches all over, but that the US, or at least California, is built on a corporate scale, whereas Europe is built on a human scale.
I love it. That's a great way to sum it up. Another place that nobody wants to go, seemingly, Brazil.
Yeah, why not?
We are in Brazil right now. And when I say we, I mean the World Surf League. Day one of competition started about 3 hours ago. So we're a few heats into the day. I've got it pulled up on my phone just above the camera that I'm looking at to talk to you. And the funny thing is, I only have it on because you and I are doing this. But when I first woke up, I pulled it up, saw what the waves looked like, and immediately shut it off, put a podcast on, walked Austin, went about my day. Did not care at all. It's big, wonky surf, and it blows my mind how mediocre the waves on tour are constantly.
But Surfline was there claiming 6 to 8 foot faces, clean winds, et cetera, like a extremely rosy forecast.
So it is 6 foot and it is favorable wind, but it's Saquarema. So it's wonky.
I mean, but yeah, at least the thing with Brazil, I'm happy that they go there, but I don't know why they don't lean into Brazilian culture more. It seems like the World Surf League has an aversion to it, a sort of, this is our weird stepchild that we have to be there. And there's like surfers pulling out every year. It goes to Brazil, right? There's always like Tyler Wright's transit visa issue really gave me long chuckles.
So let's discuss this. I started by saying nobody wants to go to Brazil. Kelly Slater pulled out. Tyler Wright's out. I don't know if you know any others off the top of your head, but just in the draw, there's a bunch of wild cards. So there's more than just those 2 people. What was Tyler Wright's official reason?
I mean, the official reason was a transit visa issue.
So does that seem suspect?
I mean, kind of, like, unless it was tied directly to her COVID, which happened forever ago. Or, I mean, her COVID was in G-Land, which was how long ago?
It was over 2 weeks ago, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have it's not like all of a sudden they put Brazil on the calendar, like, oh, everybody has to scramble to get visas. Like, how is your visa not sorted at the start of the year? Like, it's coming.
Yeah, she has handlers who manage all that. She's a multi-time world champ. She's a millionaire. Like, she should be able to sort that out.
Yeah, I mean, to have a transit visa issue be the reason that you're not somewhere as a professional surfer at that level, like, this ain't the QS and this wasn't a surprise event. So that's how it seems totally suspect to me.
And the commentary team too is the B team. Like, no offense, but Chris Cote is returning, Pete Mel's returning. These are faces we haven't seen in the other events in the season. Am I right? Or we haven't seen them certainly for the last couple events. So it's almost like the normal commentary team just opted out and then they call up these guys.
But I mean, which is, again, crazy to me because of all the stops on tour, not wave wise, but stop wise, Brazil would be my number 1 or number 2. I mean, I know the tour doesn't go to France anymore, but France and Brazil would be the 2 that I would care about most, just culturally as a surfer. And I don't know how the WSL doesn't lean into the cultural thing more with Brazil, because they're in, I mean, how close is Saquarema to Rio? It's basically right there, right?
I mean, the event's called the Oi Rio Pro. So.
Exactly. I mean, I'm assuming it's right there. And
they don't always run at Saquarema, but yeah, it's got to be close.
Yeah, and Rio's one of a world-class city, right? And so how are you not doing at least kind of shoulder programming of surfers experiencing what Brazil is? And I feel it perpetually feels like the Brazil event is the stepchild of the whole thing. Like, we go because we have to, but not because we want to.
Okay, so let's talk about why people don't want to go, or maybe why some of that stuff isn't done. It seems that there's legitimate scariness. What's the word I'm looking for? Concern for people's safety.
Great, lean into it. I mean, I'm glad that Colapinto went, and that makes me proud of him. And I would love for Griff to go. I mean, they should do a walking tour of Brazilian neighborhoods featuring Griff and Colapinto.
Like, so what's the storyline with the backlash? Were you following the storyline?
Backlash
after El Salvador? What happened?
Yep. Were you following?
No.
Oh, so Griffin and Toledo were in the final together, right? And there was a general feeling, I guess, JP wrote well about it, that Toledo was underscored, and JP Curry at Beach Grits surf journalist, surf tour cover, basically wrote that, I mean, you know, it could be, the argument could be made that Filipe was underscored, and, you know, said that Filipe and Idolo and Gabe really are often scored against themselves. They're scored against their own potential, as opposed to the actual waves. But he said wasn't, in his viewing, you know, it wasn't like a crazy weird thing. Like, Colapinto won, you know, fair and square. You could make the argument that Filipe was underscored, but whatever. But that lit a tinder in the Brazilian surf fan who rushed to the World Surf League Instagram to declare it the World Shame League and promise riots on the sand in Saquarema. Which, I mean, I'm sure, again, it probably goes back to the feeling, though, of being the stepchild, right? Like, of not ever getting respect as either a location. And then, you know, I think the Brazilian surfers get respect, but if they're in the mind of the Brazilian surf fan, if there's this perpetual kind of underscoring thing, you could see how the World Surf League is poorly managing that relationship.
The thing about those surfers being scored against themselves or judged against themselves is 100% true, and it's hugely problematic. And I don't think that Filipe suffered from that in that final, but he did suffer from it in the G-Land event and in almost every other event that we've seen. If all that you have to do is think about if, I don't know, Nat Young did a full rotation, air reverse in almost any other circumstance. Certainly if he comboed it up with other maneuvers on a wave, but even if it was just a standalone air anywhere at any venue, they would give him an 8 or a 9 for sure, because we're so not expecting that from Nat Young. Filipe Toledo does one of those and it's a 3.
Yeah.
He has to do 2 of them or something else crazy to get up into that 8 range. And so that is a huge problem for the World Surf League trying to be taken seriously. But let's back up more. I was watching Dylan Graves does his vlog, and he does this. He did a couple episodes called Breaking Waves, and they were about kind of social issues happening in surfing. So he addresses race in one of them, and he interviews Adriano de Souza on the beach at Lowers. And Adriano's like, I won, you know, a dozen events before anybody even acknowledged my existence.
Yeah.
I never, throughout any of it, including a world title, got mainstream sponsorship other than Red Bull. Every time that I would win an event, they would talk about, you know, if Chloe Andino got second place, the stories would be about Chloe Andino making the final. He's like, I was never featured in the magazines. It was like they did it, you know, just begrudgingly. They would include my name in these stories. And he's like, and They said I couldn't do airs, so I learned how to do airs. They said I couldn't surf pipe. I showed up 2 months early and spent time with Jamie O'Brien and learned how to surf pipe. Everything that they asked of me, I did. I learned English, all of this, and I still don't get acknowledged to this day. I'm a footnote, and so how could that? And so racism, it feels racist. Certainly with hindsight, it appears racist, but at the time it felt racist. And so it's easy for the whitewashed kind of surf industry to just say, no, it's not racist. It's that you are, as a culture, you are loud and obnoxious. They're pointing at these kind of individual traits, but then assigning them to the entire culture, which kind of is the definition of racism. And so when you look at why it is that the World Surf League or whoever else is kind of begrudgingly including the event on tour, we want to expand into this market, but we want the market to bend to our practices. That's the issue.
Totally. And I mean, I think it's completely true. And again, I don't know why they don't lean into, Brazil as both a culture and a surf culture is fascinating, right? And it seems like the World Surf League does very little to try to win over. I don't think it would be that hard to win over, sure, if there's somebody so set in their ways that they just don't like Brazil, don't like Brazilians, don't like any part of it, you're not going to win that person over. But World Surf League just doesn't even do a good job of trying to make it compelling, I think. And then when you have somebody like Kelly just not going and it not being said why he's not going, it just seems not only disingenuous, but it really feels like the WSL doesn't care about Brazil and doesn't even care enough to make it vaguely interesting. Like you said, like I love Pete Mel and Chris Cote and all that, but to throw a clear B team out there, to have the heat draw again, and we're after the cut here, right? And so these should be the best surfers here, but to have it just be, a bunch of wild cards, it's all fine and good. It just does seem like an afterthought, unnecessarily.
So Kelly Slater withdrew from El Salvador citing an injury. I got messages from people in Bali saying they've seen Kelly surfing, they've seen him training with Batet. He's not injured by all appearances.
There's tons of video. Like I've seen Instagram clips of him just like ripping, like him going, throwing tail high air reverses at Uluwatu and all kinds of stuff.
Okay. So Kelly, made up a reason for not going to Brazil is what it looks like. But there was in that press release, there was no mention of Rio. It didn't say he's pulling out of El Salvador and maybe other events.
Yeah.
No, it just said El Salvador. So he's not in the heat draw at Rio. The World Surf League never mentions it. Kelly never mentions it. Everybody just turns the other way. So first of all, the WSL should be investigating. They should have a whole storyline of Kelly, why aren't you in Rio? And investigating that, because it's just interesting. His reasoning would be interesting. And like you said, he hasn't shown up for Rio traditionally. So it's almost a foregone conclusion that he's not going to show up in Rio. But the fact that the WSL just co-signs it and doesn't even investigate it undermines the significance of their event. For them to just be able to say, we're going to set 11 stops. And if you don't want to show up for a couple, that's okay. We're not even going to care. We don't, we're not even going to mark you absent.
Yeah. Absolutely, for sure. And I wonder, how would it affect, say, not as big a name as Kelly, right? Could people just opt out for whatever reason?
Apparently,
they do.
Yeah, Caroline Marks didn't show up for the first half of the season. Then they just let her back into the thing. Gabriel Medina, obviously a reigning world champ, they're going to let in. But it really does feel like you just get a hall pass. There's no consequence.
Which, I wonder if there was, we talked about the LIV golf with Kevin Miller last time, but I wonder if there was another league, kind of a theoretical pathway to be a professional surfer, competitive professional surfer, if the WSL would really try to circle the wagons more. But since there's not, they don't care. Like, you do what you want.
What they need to recognize is there doesn't need to be another league, because so many of these surfers now have career paths outside of their tour. They've done a poor job of making the tour significant. A world title used to mean something, and you used to need the championship tour in order to have a career. And at this point, John doesn't need it. Gabriel doesn't need it. Kelly doesn't need it. In a lot of ways, their brands, their individual brands, are larger than the WSL or anything that the WSL can provide them. And this concept of allowing surfers to take events off and not even mentioning it, not demanding that the surfer provides some sort of explanation, further undermines the significance of their tour. They're undermining the own significance of their tour.
Except huge growth, David Lee Scales. Massive, unforeseen, never seen before in professional sports growth across.
So tell that story.
I mean,
I saw the headlines, and just the way that they were worded, it reminded me that there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. You know what I mean? It was just like, you've got to be kidding me. But Elo, what's the story?
I mean, Elo gave I think it was a podcast, or no, I'm sorry, it was an interview with a European board sport something.
Source. So it's Board Sports Source, who's written about us in the past, by the way.
Oh, great. Love them. Yeah, it's like an industry insider thing. So I had a interview with Eric Logan, wherein he just talked about, I think it's it was the Challenger Series was up some 90% in viewership. Everything was up just like, or maybe 300%. It was just crazy growth everywhere. It was growth from people consuming the product, growth in partnerships, growth in everything, growth, like wild growth. But there was no ever talk about, and that's the crazy thing, when of course they're selling this thing, right? But to have all these percentages of growth without any numbers attached to it, like growth from what to what, right? Like it was one person watching and now 20 people are watching. So it's, what would that be? 200% growth?
Yeah.
Was, like, what is this growth? So great. I mean,
2,000%, I think.
That'd be 2,000.
1 to 2 would be 200 or whatever. I don't know. I'm not good at math.
Yeah, I'm no mathematician, but like, I mean, I want the World Surf League to be healthy, right? I'm no, like, it's fun to poke fun of, but it's these continued things they do that just make it seem ridiculous. It just seems like a real song and dance, right? Okay, great. I'm glad you're growing, but be honest. Like, what does this actually mean?
Well, the part that I think rubbed me was it's still a losing business. Yeah. So you used to lose $20 million a year reportedly, and you're up. I think one of the things was about revenue. So revenues are up 30%. Okay, so now you're only losing $17 million a year, or I guess it would be $13 million. Again, I'm not good at math. $14 million. That's like, you're still failing at your job. So it's great that you're not failing as hard as you were previously, but it still just feels like such a song and dance of smoke and mirrors. It feels like the televangelist is back with his shiny jacket selling snake oil,
and like, for sure, whatever these numbers are, I think it probably goes without saying, but is ridiculous, would be based on dead bottom pandemic WSL, when there was no tour and no anything, right? So totally. Of course you're up, everybody's up for professional sports. When no people could go to some people can go, then you're up. Like, great.
That'd be interesting if it was just in 2022 over 2020 or 2021. 2020, they didn't run events. 2021, they ran marginal events, So that would be hilarious.
I'm sure that's what it is. I don't know, but for sure it's, even WSL, even if they factor in the last 5 years, right, where 2 of those 5 years are basically nothing, then of course you're going to robust growth. Great.
Well, back to Brazil, I've got a question for you, or an observation. Jack Robinson, I think he's sitting second on the rankings right now.
Yep.
He's won 2 events this year. Do you know what we should attribute his success to?
athleticgreens.com/surf.
Bang. I don't know if he's taken it or not, but I would love to think that. You remember the Brazilian storm?
Yes.
These kids show up out of Brazil, and they kind of did what we said, the whitewashing thing. They've kind of realized, I need to learn English. I'm going to move to San Clemente. I'm going to I'm going to tamp down the machismo so that I can kind of fit in, but I'm going to use it enough to get waves it lowers, all that. There was kind of an Americanization from what Adriano de Souza or his predecessors were to Gabriel Medina and Filipe Toledo, let's say. Jack Robinson is doing the exact opposite. Jack Robinson is becoming Brazilian. He has dirtied up his surfing. He was so mild-mannered and calm, and he wasn't winning events. Now he bleached his hair blonde. He's doing tons of mainstream press, which is kind of a Brazo move. He married a Brazilian who, by the way, is a doppelganger for Gabriel Medina, strangely. He's riding Sharp Eye surfboards. Must I go on?
Phenomenal observation right there. The Brazilianification of Jack Robinson is totally true and great. And look at him win.
Well, totally. And the bleached hair was what really set it home. I just thought to myself, each of the other Brazilians on tour, certainly the top three, they take on a superhero persona. I mean, Gabriel Medina has his superhero thing that he's been doing for a couple years now. Idolo has adopted one with the six pack and all that sort of stuff. Filipe with the tattoos, the lion on his chest, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, Jack Robinson bleaching his hair, he's going in that direction.
Do you think if Griff and Colapinto brazoed up that he would reach the top as well?
He needs to. He's found a new gear in his surfing, but he needs to find a new gear in the personality to really like lay his claim.
See, this would have been, again, World Surf League should just hire me as image consultant. Like this whole thing, the rage, a lot of, there was death threats against Colapinto, purportedly after his beating Filipe. But there was, Colapinto did nothing wrong there, right? The blame was really on the judges. Colapinto should have fully leaned in, gone to Brazil straight after, met with the most, thrown a party and met with the most ardent, whatever, Brazilian surf fans, just said, hey man, sorry about the judging inconsistencies. I'll go whoop your boy straight up from now on. And just, I think like really leaned into it instead of, I don't think he was scared, but like, right. I don't, the World Surf League could have facilitated something like that. The Brazilian. So
he also, you said, or you didn't say, but I saw written on Beach Grit, apparently has been receiving death threats.
Yeah.
Wow.
His mammy said that. Yeah, the passionate Brazilian surf fan has been threatening death. But again, like I published, do you remember the Todd Holland story?
I saw that you wrote that story, but no, retell Todd's story.
I totally forgot that one as well. I had remembered it vaguely, but yeah. So Todd Holland was, can't remember what, surfer from Cocoa Beach, was kind of a mainstay on the tour for 80s and 90s, I suppose, or early 90s maybe. Was in Brazil surfing an event. Got an interference call on him. He was against, I think, Victor Rivas maybe. Got a interference call on him, and so realized that the only way that he could win the heat was if he got Rivas to interfere. And so just sat on him hard, right? Sat on him so hard and did get the interference call against Rivas. The beach announcer was incensed by that tactic, and so got the beach crowd riled up.
Wow.
And so Holland comes in, starts getting beat up by the fans, gets hit in the head. Police have to draw their guns and clear a path for him through the beach. They threw him in jail for his protection, with just rabid fans outside calling for his blood. And then eventually somehow like a friend snuck him into a car and had to sneak him. The police told him, shave your beard, like change your appearance. This is not good. So snuck into a car, got snuck out of the country, and then fell off tour basically because he could never go surf events in Brazil again.
What a story.
A great story. But in this story, right, he was an instigator of something. It wasn't just judges giving scores. Like Colapinto did nothing wrong to Filipe. The only thing was that Colapinto was arguably, got the benefit of judging largesse. But I think that's an easy narrative to flip, right? Say, hey, I surfed my best. The judges gave me the win, but let's go do it again. I want your man mano a mano, right? Give me Filipe, give me Gabe, give me Elo one-on-one, and I'll beat them each and every time.
Wow. Yeah, that I think I agree with you. That would be a tactic. I'm just thinking other stories that I remember hearing about Brazil and CT competitors being faced with safety issues or safety concerns. Shane Dorian, I remember getting robbed at gunpoint. He was walking down to the beach with surfboards, 2 surfboards, one under each arm. And somebody walked up and put a gun to his head and said, "We're taking these, stay on your knees and don't look back, count to 100 and don't look back," and just robbed him of his surfboards. I remember Michel Perez a number of years ago getting kidnapped in a van. Do you remember this one?
Totally.
So Michel, who is the Spartan, the guy is the last guy you would want to kidnap. But obviously the kidnappers knew who he was and knew that there would be they could potentially get ransom money. Pulled up on the sidewalk, door slides open, throws him in a van and peels out. Eventually they get kind of stuck in traffic or at a stoplight. He fights them off, opens the door and runs away and escapes. So he was able to escape under his own power. Connor Coffin, Carissa Moore, in another incident, saw somebody get shot at a gas station. They were just walking from the beach to their hotel and they saw shooting at a gas station. They saw somebody get shot. Those are just off the top of my head.
I mean, but again, amazing. Talk about spice. Talk about an interesting stop on tour. I mean, maybe I'm just wacky from being wacky, but that's the stuff that I love. Not people getting shot and kidnappings, but man, that kind of frisson, that kind of energy, like that's what I don't know why. Obviously, the World Surf League is not going to lean into those stories, but Brazil is, again, say it again, one of the most interesting stops on tour. Maybe not the most interesting wave, but culturally, what's happening there, politically,
Yeah, it is interesting.
Historically, like it's a fascinating place.
I think the main issue is like it's a liability. To a certain degree, it's a liability for the World Surf League to have those things happening. But the fact that they're still going there means they're okay with the liability. And so then why wouldn't you excavate the most interesting details? Yeah,
precisely. I mean, that's the thing, is to continue, which seems classic World Surf League, to both try to have your cake and eat it too, and do neither well. Like have a crap cake and drooling all over it, but not actually getting any in your mouth, is the way it feels they deal with Brazil, of treating it like a second class thing, even though, no, it's a tour stop, it's a championship tour after the cut. It's not imagine what if they would have made Brazil a Challenger Series?
Yeah, it was for a long time. I mean, Saquarema was a prime event or a QS 10,000 event for a long time.
Which I'm sure, Brazil is, and the Brazilian surf fan, we talk about robust growth and all that, right? Like the Brazilian surf fan contingent is a huge part, I'm sure, of WSL numbers. I don't know what their numbers actually are, but it's a large nation with a passionate fan base that actually loves surf as sport, right? Unlike America,
Totally.
which is a large country that has a small fan base that doesn't really consider surf sport. But so I see how they probably think we totally need this and we don't know what to do with it, which learn what to do with it.
I agree. It's just, it takes real vision to see where the growth opportunities are and decide what to do with it. And I don't think we have that leader in place.
No, definitely not.
Have you been watching Kelly Slater's Lost Tapes?
I missed it, unfortunately.
There's 2 episodes thus far. We have a quick review of the series from a caller. So let's hear from them.
What up, boys? It's Hannah from Australia here again. Just watched like 13 minutes of Kelly Slater's lost tapes. He's the most pretentious person in the whole entire world. I think we should cancel him, and he is an asshole. And Val, if you're listening, don't use my Bon Voyage. That's mine. Bon Voyage.
You remember Val from Santa Cruz who gave you haircut
Yep.
advice? Yeah.
Sure do.
Hannah's being a bit harsh on Kelly, I reckon.
The most pretentious person in the world.
I disagree. So you have not seen it. We don't need to do a deep dive. I'm a huge fan of Kelly's lost tapes.
Really? Is it better than Make or Break?
It's totally different. I don't think it's better. It's different in that it's not at all trying to be, it's not trying to excavate any stories. It's Kelly's own filmer. Kelly's probably got full right of refusal for the edit. It's presented by Outer Known. So it's soft in all those ways, but where it's great is that it's just a behind the scenes look at one of the greatest athletes of all time going around the world and competing. So seeing kind of his interactions with his friends, seeing little training regimens that he's doing, all of that kind of stuff is just interesting to me. And also, the one other detail that I never even thought about before was we haven't seen Kelly free surf in a decade.
Yeah.
Like we see these tiny clips of him, but remember a decade ago and prior, I mean, the first 2 decades that you were into surfing, there'd be videos devoted to Kelly. There was Taylor Steele segments. And so you would 80% of what you saw of Kelly Slater throughout the course of the year was free surfing. And then 20% was this little bit of competitive surfing, which he was also dominating. For the last 10 years, 90% of what we see of Kelly is competitive, and he's not dominant anymore. And he's surfing to a criteria that is actually limiting his surfing. So in this series, you get to see Kelly warming up for the Bells event just by free surfing. And he's taking really interesting lines. He's riding boards that are appropriate, like for what he would ride without, if he wasn't in competition and it's just refreshing. It's like, it's winning me over to Kelly Slater. The reason I've developed an ire is because I see him trying to stuff a square peg in a round hole. And I see him getting injured and his body's failing him because he's trying to keep up with Filipe. And I just want to see Kelly be Kelly. And so this series has done that.
Is it Tom Curran-esque? I mean, in watching him surf?
Yeah, it is.
Where he should lean into his Tom Curran years. I mean, that's where he's at right now, right? Like, Kelly could surf beautifully till 70, I have no doubt, but he's not going to surf beautifully competitively till then.
Right.
Like
it feels forced. And when I watch this series and see the behind the scenes with him kind of revealing little details, it seems disingenuous that he's even on tour anymore. It's like he doesn't really want to be there. There's an ego trip that's a compulsion that's keeping him on tour. But deep down, he just wants to hang with his friends, I think, and chase swell, right? That's why he's in Bali for the last month. He doesn't want to go to El Salvador. He doesn't want to go to Rio. And so we love you, Kelly. We're all huge fans. You be Kelly, and we'll continue to love you,
Would you, if you could, if some man came through the door right now with papers to sign, said you could swap lives with Kelly Slater, sign on the dotted line here, would you?
Hell no.
Yeah, it seems Kelly's life seems awful to me, which is weird and it shouldn't, but moving perpetually, I guess, I mean, from wave to wave, never, I mean, not that I like to be settled down, but there seems something, it seems like a compulsion that doesn't seem very enjoyable at this point to me.
It's a very unique mindset. And I do not have that mind. In order to do the things that he did, you sacrifice a ton and you actually have to take advantage of a lot of people and hurt relationships. And I do not have that mindset. I would not have made a million of the decisions that he made. You know what I mean? So I would rather, the reason why I wouldn't trade all those things is because I've got a beautiful partner and a child that I want to be home with. I would not give those things up for any amount of waves. You know what I mean? Or any amount of the wealth that he has.
But look at, he has Kalani Miller, who's with him seemingly on 90% of the time, right?
Good for him. Cool. I'm glad that's worked out, you know?
How, like, I mean, what is the longest amount of time Kelly has been in one place over the last, I don't know, his whole life? Do you think he spent more than 1 month in a single location over his entire life?
I think in COVID, he spent time in Bali, but other than that, no, 1 month would be the max for sure.
Yeah, which, I mean, and again,
maybe Hawaii for 2 months in the winter.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm no like drill down and let's be home. I totally get the, you know, feeling burning under your feet to get out on the road. But man, that kind of perpetual motion machine seems like it would be dizzying.
Yeah. Again, it takes a very unique personality type.
Good for him.
But the lost tapes thing, I love that peek behind the curtain, even if it is filtered and even if it is edited, I still love the peek. And the other thought that I had about it was he's finally leveraging his private content to sell some outer known product, which I think is really smart. Like John Florence figured that out a couple of years ago, where everybody wants a piece of him. He has his own filmers. He was making films and putting them out, but he realized when he launched his brand, I'm going to corral all this content and use it to promote my brand. Dane Reynolds figured that out with Former instantly. That was part of the business plan. Kelly somehow lost that detail. And he would appear in the imagery of Outer Known for the catalog and maybe an Instagram post, but he didn't leverage content, you know? And this now feels like he's entering the vlog space. It's episodic. So we're seeing episodes weekly and it's presented by Outer Known. We're seeing him wear Outer Known clothes and utilize them in the videos. So I think it's a great marketing move for his brand.
Does it make you want to buy Outer Known?
No. But it's great for the brand's awareness. Like, again, just seeing it utilized authentically feels different than that catalog showing up in my mail that I never signed up for.
I wonder how Outer Known is doing. Like, I mean, it ain't no charity, so it's definitely doing fine enough to keep alive. But I mean, is it like a tiny little $10 million business?
I don't think so. It was originally hoping to kind of live in Patagonia's space. But I've only ever seen it discounted at Nordstrom Rack and I see these 70% off emails or whatever. And Patagonia never, ever existed in that space. So the fact that Outer Known is even kind of in that space within the first couple of years of their business was not by design.
It does not bode super well, I guess.
No.
Nordstrom Rack.
So remember you published a story about that person defecating in a surf shop?
Sure did.
Well, we got a call. I've been holding on to this call for 2 weeks, not from the person exactly, but we do have a call.
Dave and Chaz. I was just listening to the Griff, and I had to weigh in on the defecation article that Chaz wrote on Beach Grit. I worked at a surf shop in Southern California, a big surf shop, and we had a bathroom in the surf shop. And during the summer, at least once every 2 weeks, someone would defecate in that public bathroom, but not in the toilet. It was resigned to the toiletry cabinet where we kept the sanitary papers, the back of the toilet, the floor of the toilet. Someone plugged it up once, and then defecated on the floor. Another notable is that said bathroom had been used as a dressing room from a gentleman on TCP and then walked out of the store on a rainy day, absolutely in his birthday suit, down onto PCH in the rain as the cops were coming up the street. So yes, it's a thing. It happens. I've been there. And yeah, keep up the work. And let's get Chaz grit again. Maybe we can run into the haberdasher again. That would be real fun. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
That's true. I do need another haberdash experience.
Is this happening at surf shops regularly? Is this a trend?
I mean, we need more callers, I suppose, because who knew surf shops were such weird ground zeros of kink?
Who knew? Not I. And to be perfectly honest, I'm revolted. There's nothing more revolting to me. I would never, there's no amount you could pay me as a surf shop employee to clean that up. I would straight out quit.
I have no idea how that doesn't happen once, and then the restroom is closed to customers. And if a parent with a kid who needs to go comes in, then sure, you can case by case basis. But as a rule, we don't have a restroom. I don't think it's an expected thing that surf shops have toilets for the public to use.
Definitely not. I mean, yeah, Starbucks, fast food, things like that, but surf shops, I would never even think to ask.
I mean, it's funny. I follow a funny Instagram account, the Kurgerbing. Do you follow Kurgerbing?
I don't think so.
Kurgerbing's pretty funny, but 90% of the humor is about people defecating on the floor in Burger King bathrooms. And so maybe this is a thing that's happening all over.
Is that a fair joke? Is poop a fair joke? I think it's way past the line of fair.
Like fair and how? Like fair because in being funny?
Yeah. Like, or if you want to exact retribution against
Is that a
King,
fair joke? No. That is not a fair joke. Like somebody, but I mean, who is it? Somebody who hates the surf industry in there? Like, oh man, you stinking surf industry stole my culture person who's in there. Is it an act of terrorism?
Yes, it's an act of terrorism. I don't think they're anti-surf culture, but it is an act of terrorism. I don't think it's somebody had diarrhea and they couldn't make it to the toilet because it's happening way too frequently. It's somebody who literally thinks, this is going to be hilarious. Somebody's going to have to clean this up, and they choose to poop on the floor instead.
For sure. But I'm going to say it's malicious. I don't think they think it's funny. I think they're doing it maliciously.
Like that employee gave me a side eye or charged me more than, whatever.
Exactly. I'm going to get them. I mean, what percentage of people, because again, now that this is the third, I suppose, instance of floor defecation that I'm aware of, what percentage of people defecate on the floor? I would like a floor defecator to call in.
Identify yourself.
You could do it anonymously. Just let us know why you do it. What's the thrill? What's the
You're
kink?
right. You're right. It is a kink. There is clearly something going on here. I would love for somebody to try to explain that kink, that it is gratifying to hit the floor instead of the toilet.
Totally, because like of all the weird kind of, or not of all of them, but of many of them, right? Like of people who love to look at pictures of women's feet, or people who this, that, or the other thing, right? Like it's totally weird to me, but I understand that that's a thing. I would like to understand that this is a thing, that somebody says, yeah, it makes me feel alive.
Well, it would have to be a kink. If you did it in the surf shop, it would have to be a kink that makes you feel alive, because there is a chance that you're going to exit the bathroom and there will be somebody waiting to come into the bathroom, and they will then see what you did and identify you as the pooper.
But couldn't you always play it off as like, oh man, don't go in there. Or is that the thrill? Is it like getting caught, I don't know. Is it like a flasher thing? It's like getting caught naked in public.
That is what the kink is for sure.
Like
you're right. Because if you had a chambered response of like, you open the door, somebody's standing there and you just go, oh man, somebody really ruined it in here. Watch out, you'd have to have that chambered, but that's a different person. That's a person who actually had diarrhea and didn't make it.
Yeah, we definitely need more detail on this. I need more calls on this.
Or do we really, or do we just move on.
I
with
just
our
want to get,
lives.
I want to get to the root of it. I want to understand for sure. One of these listeners has purposefully defecated on a floor. I just want to know why.
Definitely among our listener base, there is that person. I'm just hoping they have they're brave enough to call and explain themselves.
Just at least do it anonymously. We will not out you.
Yeah. Awesome. I have one true grit or clickbait story that I would love for you to unpack. The headline says, quote, surfer / entrepreneur, father and son combination stumble upon their Steve Jobs moment, create line of neckties crafted from board short material, exclamation point.
Boom, right there. We both, David Lee Scales, missed the boat on this one.
So what's the story?
I love getting served up. Every once in a while, I'll get served up things from, when I'm in my surf news perusing, we'll get served up stuff from the Deseret News. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is the official Latter-day Saints Mormon publication.
No way.
And so, yeah, and so this was from the Deseret News. So this is a Mormon father-son combo. It's great. And it talks about how they would just go on vacation, try to find their Steve Jobs moment, right? They're the one thing that was going to really take off for them. And then one day, I think they were in Hawaii, maybe Costa Rica, can't remember, stumbled on it. It was neckties from board short materials. And so they made some prototypes, took them to their church, real popular, work great for missionaries, Mormon missionaries, because they can just throw them in the back of the car and they don't crumple. Like it was such a Mormon story that it made me happy. It was like pure Mormocano.
What did they brand the ties as? What was the name?
It is Bombara, like from Australia and the Bommy. Like, yeah, Bombara.
It's not as if there's just like some big surplus of used board shorts somewhere that they need to repurpose.
No, they're getting it like from board short stock material. So there's nothing new. It's not like recycled board shorts and returning. I don't think there's any ecological component to this. They're just making ties from, which is funny also, like it's all from Stance socks, right? Like there's this category that people just looked over forever, right? And all of a sudden, oh, boom. And that's where the inspiration came from, of course, is them in church looking at all their Mormon church friends wearing Stance socks to church, right? Which, funny enough, I happen to know Stance socks founder, I think, or one of them. And he was a Mormon. So Mormons are all about the entrepreneurial little things. The little things. Yeah.
Got a lot of kids to feed.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing is it's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
No.
It is a far cry from a Steve Jobs moment.
Yeah.
I don't know who said it, but it's like, you want to know how to make $1 billion? You change 1 billion people's lives, create something that changes 1 billion people. This will change 18 people's lives.
I mean, imagine though, like I could see how it'd be such a hit in the Mormon community where ties are, probably more ubiquitous than,
yeah.
I wear a suit all the time, right? Or not all the time, and as I've talked about here, I'm looking to transition to a full-time suit wear. I wear ties rarely, right? Like there is an occasion for a tie, but if I'm going to wear a tie, it is definitely not going to be a board short tie. Like, right. I don't wear novelty ties, but nothing against them and their Bombara ties. I wish them nothing but the best.
Well, the funny thing is they wear suits. They wear ties more frequently than they wear suits.
Precisely.
And so they needed an everyday tie. They're like, gosh, we're wearing these all the time, but the only ties you can find are relatively formal ties. So this little niche in the market is for an everyday tie that's also waterproof.
Which is pretty great. It is a perfect Mormon entrepreneurial thing. Crush it.
It really is. It really is. By the way, remember, so we were talking about Val from Santa Cruz. She called 2 weeks ago, and one of the things that she asked for was the update from the guy who was going to propose in Bali potentially. And then he called back in, and then we discussed it with Kevin Miller. We're like, dude, maybe pump the brakes.
Yep.
He called back to set us straight. And I'm not going to play his call because it's 2 minutes long, but just for the record, he's absolutely in love with his fiance. He's absolutely knows that she's the one. He absolutely will propose. It's just the timing is the issue. And the family expecting the kid right away. He needs to kind of give that time to breathe, I think, and let them know that they're not going to have a kid right away. But there's no concern about the girl being the right one.
Okay, good job. Good job and well done.
Wanted to set the record straight.
Great. I'm glad that he did. Like, I love that we've talked about this enough now where his fiance, or I guess she's not his fiance yet, his girlfriend, definitely is not a listener.
I know. Definitely not. His voice, she'd identify him by his voice, first of all.
And also has no friends who listen.
Right, exactly. Let's go to commercial break, and then we'll come back with Barrel or Not.
Great.
All right, Chaz, guess what? Bubbacoos.com just released a new commercial featuring one New Jersey's own Rob Kelly.
I love Rob Kelly. I watched this video and had some thoughts on it.
Okay, well, let's watch it together. Do you want to share your thoughts, or should we watch it together?
Let's watch it together.
Okay, we've got Rob Kelly on the beach holding his phone, pulling up the Bubbacoos app,
Easy.
Order pops through at Bubbacoos. He's got his wife and kid on the beach, and he's going to go for a surf.
Guess how he's going to surf, David Lee?
Amazingly,
He's going to rip.
he paddled out riding a Smith Shapes, but when he did the air, he's on a Sharp Eye, which is...
I mean, he has a board caddy out there.
That's what it is. Okay. Thought it was some old movie magic. Meanwhile, while he's doing an air, his burrito is being prepared at Bubbacoos.
Not just any air, a full-on tail-high sick air.
Totally. And by the way, that burrito, football sized.
Oh my goodness, that's what you need, throwing all those airs. Look at that air.
Boom. Boom. And before his session is even over, his Bubbacoos is delivered to his wife and kid on the beach.
Do you think he ordered burritos.com?
Bubbacoos.com/surf is where he ordered from. That's where you download the app. That is where you save $2 on your first purchase. And have a burrito delivered to you while you surf.
I had two thoughts. One was a little bit rude, as I didn't see his wife and young son are there on the beach. I didn't see 3 burritos going in that bag. I saw 1 burrito for Rob Kelly going in the bag. Little bit rude not to feed your family, Rob Kelly, when they're sitting on the beach watching you surf. The other thought I had, am I wrong? That is the best high performance surfing in any commercial, like that's not a surf commercial ever.
That's a great call. It very well could be.
I mean, tell me a commercial like Kelly Slater paddling out. Corona does a bunch of, silly kind of longboardy stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was racking my brain trying to think of a mainstream product, not a surf product, that had better use of surfing in it.
Because even when they do incorporate Kelly Slater or something, they don't edit it correctly. They just show him like pumping down the line or something. But You're absolutely right. That commercial was made by somebody who surfs and knows surfing.
And it was a banger edit of a surf clip. I mean, there was 2 or 3, 2 maybe A+ surf clips in there.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. For sure. Do you think his wife was actually, not only did he get his wife to come to the beach and watch him surf, I think she might've been filming. She might've been holding the camera for him too. She's working double duty.
For sure. And doesn't get fed. I mean, she should unionize against Rob Kelly.
What if that was her burrito? What if Rob was only feeding his wife?
That would be okay. That would be fine if that's her. But if he's also paying her in burritos to film, But I will say, if I was going to get paid in burritos, I would want them to be Bubba Coos burritos.
Yeah. There's what's not being said here, and it's just blatantly obvious if you look at that football size burrito. One Bubba Coos burrito feeds a full family.
Man, I miss Bubba Coos. I'm headed straight back as soon as I can. Next time I'm driving through Orange County, I'm swinging into La Mirada to get. I miss it. I love Bubba Coos burritos.
I'll see if I could just bring you one next time we see each other.
Okay.
So yeah, bubbacoos.com/surf. Download the app. They're expanding nationwide. There's 2 stores in California, but if you're in New Jersey, certainly download that app. Find the Bubba Coos near you. Save $2 on your first order. bubbacoos.com/surf. Okay, we're back with Barrel or Nah. This first Barrel or Nah comes from a listener, and we're going to have a guest come on to answer the Barrel or Nah for the listener. So yeah, pretty exciting. Here we go.
David, Chaz, this is Steven from San Francisco. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Have a little Barrel or Nah for you guys. So me and my semi-anonymous buddy, who's called in about topics ranging from surf hats to his will I or won't I engagement, are going to New Zealand for a little drive-through-esque surf trip. I'm super stoked. You know, we've been dreaming about a trip like this since we were in high school, but I'm concerned about the van rental, which has these massive orange decals plastered all over it. Is this going to make us sitting ducks for parking lot vibes, or even a Raglan Surf Report expose brought to you by Jack Link's Beef Jerky? Or should I not even think about it, enjoy the trip, and channel my inner Benji? We grew up in a pretty localized zone, so we know how to handle ourselves in a lineup and are pretty unimposing. But my inner Larry David is wincing at all these decals. All this to say, Barrel or Nah, traveling around a foreign country in a very conspicuous van. Keep up the work, get barrel, and bon voyage. P.S. James, please wear a surf hat in Bali. I do not want to be dealing with your skin peeling all over the van.
Okay. So he and James are going to New Zealand, and they're renting a van that's plastered with decals that identifies them as tourists and potentially even kooks. And they're mainly going to be surfing. So what he's concerned about is, number one, being identified as, but number two, you're going to get your windows smashed, potentially your tires slashed. So he needs advice on what to do. Who would be the appropriate person to provide this advice?
New Zealand, if I was going to wonder about who I was going to ask anything about New Zealand, I would have to say New Zealand's favorite first son, Luke Cederman.
There is only one person that you could rely on, and here he is.
Hi, my name's Luke from the Raglan Surfport, and I'm here to try and answer Steve's question, his barrel or not question about camper vans in New Zealand when he comes here. So these bright orange camper vans, they're bright orange camper vans, and they got big logos on them. Is it a barrel or is it not? Well, I mean, if you put it into perspective, there's another camper van company in New Zealand that does something similar to these orange ones, but kind of a little more crass. Like these other camper vans, they got sort of cancelled. I guess you could call it that. That's the buzzword these days, being cancelled. So this other camper van company, they got cancelled a few years ago because they had things like, on the back of the camper van, instead of it being bright orange, it just said, I don't always give a woman an orgasm, but when I do, she usually spits it out. So they had those on the back of the camper vans, which is, it's not that bad. It's probably not as bad as life sucks if your girlfriend doesn't. Well, actually, that's probably more timid than the other one. And then you've obviously got on the back of some of them, your thighs won't touch if my head's between them. So, I mean, look, we're just putting this into comparison between a bright orange van with a bunch of logos on it, or a van with a picture of a egg fucking a chicken that says who came first. And then once again, bright orange van, few logos on it, you might stick out a little bit. Or then you've got a blue van that says this cock loves ass, and it's got a picture of a chicken or a cock and a donkey, an ass. So really classy stuff. And then obviously you've got Snow White smoking crack. So I don't think having a bright orange camper van is too bad. So I'm going to go with barrel because, yeah, it's better than having Snow White smoking crack on the side of your camper van. for sure.
There we have it.
Oh man, Luke is honestly, it's between him and Sterling as the funniest man in surf. I both have a different kind of comedy, but wow, Luke is very, very, very funny.
Barrel, orange
Yeah.
camper van, not that bad at all.
Could be way worse.
I mean, you might be identified as a tourist, but at least you will not be identified as
A sex
offensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. As a potential sex offender and end
Yep.
up in jail. So
Yep.
totally Barrel.
Man, that's going to make the caller sleep easy. James and he are gonna have a great trip now.
And Luke even told me that he's traveled around the South Island in that exact type of camper van. So if good enough for Luke, good enough for you.
Great.
I sent Luke that message. He replied immediately and said, I'll send you something within an hour or two. He put that bit together within an hour or two.
Of course. I mean, when you're funny, you're funny. When you got it, you got it.
Completely. I talked with Benji Weatherly about, no, actually it wasn't Benji. It was Jonathan Wayne Freeman about, we got to do a power rankings of surf comedians because Benji's in there for sure as a freestylist he's now transitioning into stand-up. But if you've seen the stand-up, it's not that great. His freestyle. Yes, he did. Dude, he's done New York. He's done Boston. He's going straight for the top. Yeah.
You've seen it?
He's posted the clips on Instagram.
Is it like surf-based comedy? Like, one thing people get wrong about surfers.
It's local geographic based, but yes, surf infused. So he's in New York. He'll make fun of New Yorkers. He did the belly up when Donovan was playing there. He opened for Donovan doing stand-up. And so he has a bunch of San Diego, van life humor.
Wow. That's like, that is hard.
It's harsh, dude. When I talked to him about it, he's like, he had done no reps. He had not developed a routine. He's just going up there and kind of winging it with some concepts of jokes. And I'm like, dude, you don't realize the best in the world have to work. They have to hone it. Yes. And then they go and they play the local venues. Like they put together, it takes months to put together 5 minutes,
I sometimes get annoyed when artists call their work their craft. Stand-up comedy seems like something that is actually a craft. Like the amount of work you have to do, like acting, of course they work hard and train and whatever, but man, stand-up comedy is, you can't just think I'm a funny guy, I'm going to go up on stage and be a funny guy.
The funniest still have to work years and years.
Should we should do a Grit stand-up night and just go like that should be the power rankings. Just go head to head. I mean, Luke would
get them all there.
Luke would have to throw in a video, depending on where you are, but get Jonathan Wayne Freeman up, get Benji Weatherly, and just really this is a good idea. A head to head, like rap battles of old, except just a comedy battle between surf comedians.
Who would be in contention is that Ivy, I forget her last name, Ivy
Miller.
Is it Miller? Yeah.
There is an Ivy Miller, but is she a comedian?
God, I don't know why I can't remember her name right now. Her first name's Ivy. I know that much. Her Instagram, I know. Her Instagram is Ivus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Miller. Ivy Miller.
She's a comedian?
Well, dude, her Instagram's pure comedy. I don't think she's a stand-up comedian, but her Instagram is incredible.
Do you think if you had to get up on stage, and I would love for the listeners to be thinking about this in their own heart right now, if you had to go up on stage tonight and deliver a 15-minute comedy set, could you do it?
No, dude, 15 minutes is pro level.
I mean,
could you pull 5?
Could you get people to laugh?
Probably not.
Listener, could you get people to laugh? I want you to think hard about it. If you had 10 minutes, we'll say it 10 minutes. Could you go, do you think, yeah, I could? I mean, I hear that it's hard and they work hard and all that. And it wouldn't be like huge belly laughs, but I could make people laugh.
I would immediately start Googling comedians of yore and stealing their jokes like from the 80s, hoping to look for some deep cuts that like our audience wouldn't necessarily know. And you'll just see me up there regurgitating like a Mitch Hedberg routine or something.
Would you go for a little Rodney Dangerfield in there?
Absolutely. It's risky. That's cancelable nowadays for sure. He's got some tame ones though too. I remember one that I thought was hilarious when I was a kid. He's like, the other night I went to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out. Pretty stupid, but funny. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Thank you, Luke Cederman. Barrel or not? Hitting on other surfers in the lineup.
I'm gonna go no barrel.
So we have to make a gender distinction here, because I do feel if you're a dude hitting on a female in the lineup, it's no barrel. But if you're a dude, if there's a female in the lineup and she starts hitting on you, that kind of feels flattering.
I mean, for sure it does. Talk about cancelable. We're in cancelable territory right now, talking about gender. But I hear you. But I'm also going to say, I want the lineup to be a place, a vacuum of anything. I don't want politics in the lineup. I don't want weather talk in the lineup. To be honest, I don't like talk in the lineup.
Zero talk.
I'm a zero talker. I sit there and I'll answer questions when asked, but I just like to sit there quietly. How often in your life do you get a window to just be quiet? Where surfing is one of those places. And so if you are a girl who wants to hit on a boy, wait till he goes in the sand. If you're a boy who wants to hit on a girl, just don't do it.
That would be incredible. So not only is it flattering if you're a dude and that girl hits on you, because there's so many more men out there. Yeah, there's way more men. And so if she chose you, that would be flattering. But if she followed you in, if you went in, she caught a wave after you all the way to the sand, goes, hey, I didn't want to interrupt your session out there. However, can I get your number? And then she paddles back out to surf after the interaction, that would be the ultimate flattery.
I mean, I can't think of anything in this entire life that would be more flattering than that.
Yeah, me neither. So that's very barrel.
That is peak flattery.
Yeah, entirely. So but I agree with you. Like, yes, no talking in the lineup. The one exception I would make is give me a hoot if I did something cool.
Sure.
But really, this is a PSA for all the women surfers out there. I have a feeling they are getting hit on like to a crazy degree in the lineup.
Even like stupid passive hitting on, like people paddling close and just like,
I see it all the time, dude.
Sick turn.
If there's ever a woman in the lineup, I see all the dudes gawking. I see dudes making small talk. Those dudes don't make small talk with me. They do make small talk with the women. And it's like, that's got to be unbelievably annoying. If you're just paddling out to surf and every other person in the lineup is sidling up next to you, that's already a faux pas. And then they're trying to chat you up like you can't even get a wave.
I mean, except for if you just use it to your advantage. If you flatter lightly back and say, can I go? Can I get this wave? Like, I mean, if you're getting hit on, then get paid for it in waves.
Yeah. But I'd say PSA, no barrel. Leave people alone in the lineup. It's a sanctuary. It's a refuge. Let them do their thing.
Quiet space.
Perfect. Barrel or not, parenting other children at the park.
Oh, this is another caveated barrel for me. It is barrel if a kid is out of line, like far out of line. Like it's definitely one thing to tell a kid to be careful at the park if it's not your kid. That's no. If their parents letting them, try to do a backflip off the swing, then great. But if a kid is being a bully at the park and the parent is doing nothing about it, then go shake that kid down.
I encountered a situation on the Jungle Gym. Austin just loves other kids. He likes seeing other kids. I have to hold him. He'll walk with his feet, but I have to have my arms under his armpits. So he walks around on the jungle gym with my help. And we come around a bend, and there's some slightly older kids who had poppers, those little pieces of paper that are twisted with like gunpowder in them, essentially. And they're slamming them, popping them. And my concern was the littering. The noise, no big deal. Austin doesn't care about that. But they're just slamming these pieces of paper down and then rushing off and leaving all the trash. And I'm like, I'm looking around for the parents because I wanted to have a conversation with the parents. Parents are nowhere to be seen. So the kids must live in the neighborhood and they just come over on their own or something. And I was like, I didn't say anything to the kids, but I left the park realizing I need a strategy in place for how to interact with other people's children.
You do? I'll tell you what it is. It's jerk dad. It's like you don't even pause. You say, hey, kids, clean up your litter. Like there's no trying to talk to them. There's no like, hey, we all live here and, you know, be really cool if you guys could maybe clean this up. It's none of that. It's like straight jerk adult. Hey, clean this up. Like I'll do that, not regularly, but if there's stuff, it's quick, it's mean, and get them to jump. And then you're, you know, don't hold a grudge and be standing over them watching. But it's, yeah, I think that's totally appropriate. I don't even think that's parenting. That's like demanding kids to have some kind of respect.
I'm in. I'm fully comfortable with that.
Like it's a quick bark. It's and rarely, I mean, I've done it to kids before and I've never had any, excuse me, don't talk to my kid that way or anything. Like, I think it's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. Cause I was thinking when I was a kid, I had no awareness. Like I was just doing what was fun for me and my friends. And so certainly I didn't have concerns about the environment or whatever else. And you need a parent to correct you with those things and just open your eyes. We're just having fun. We're just doing our thing. We're trying to make noise. We're trying to have as much fun as possible. And then occasionally a parent would chime in and let us know the boundaries of what's appropriate and what's not. And it was appreciated.
Yep.
It would shake me enough to be like, oh, I had no idea. Good to know, you know, moving on. So I agree with you. That is the strategy.
And it also gives, it's also fun for the kid, I think, to have this like curmudgeonly adult enemy now, right? They can go back and talk, oh, that jerk. Like it provides texture to their lives too, to have like a common enemy. Like, we're going to stick it to that man next time. Like, good for them. We're going to bring water balloons and peg him.
I would love to play that role with those kids and develop that. I'll just walk by and like shake my fist at them and stuff in the future.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for everybody. It's a barrel for all.
Cool. I'm in. I'll totally apply that when I see those kids this afternoon.
The only way it's not a barrel is if you try to provide like kind of kind reason. Like, hey guys, glad you're having fun. Be really cool if you could clean up after yourselves.
Yeah.
No cool.
No, not at all. Nobody respects that parent.
Nope.
They defy it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, hey, great show, man. Welcome back.
Thank you, man. I felt a little rusty at the start, but it felt like found my footing later on. Feels good.
Perfect.
Found my footing on my broken ankle.
Just took a little bit of time. Well, I hope that your ankle feels better. Don't go surfing. Don't do any ballet in the meantime.
Oh man, not going surfing is a bummer, especially in this tropical heat wave we're having.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, next week, if you're feeling good enough, maybe we'll meet at Album. I should say, by the way, we are giving away an Album free wing on July 1st.
What do people have to do to get it?
They just have to support our work. So if they already are supporting at $5 a month, then they're already entered to win. No further action needed. But for those of you who are not, you can still get in to win that board on July 1st. Just get that support in before the end of the month, Pacific Standard Time. It's $5 a month. No big deal. You won't notice it missing from your account, but it not only covers the hard costs involved with archiving all of this work, but it invests in the future of the show, the improved quality, the improved consistency, all that sort of stuff. So consider it.
As much as I love Bubba Coos and Athletic Greens, I love them dearly. The listener supported part is the best.
It really is. It's allowed us to stay independent and talk about the WSL, talk about Kelly, all that sort of stuff without worrying that we're going to need funding or partnerships with those people. And the Album Freewing is such a sick board that I feel inclined. The last thing I need in my life is another surfboard. And it's like, I'm going to order one.
Man, stinking Matt Parker from Album knows how to make a beautiful board.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
He's the worst. Coaxing us into buying expensive surfboards.
Yep.
All right, Chaz, until next week, Hannah will sign us off.
Bon voyage.
All right. See you next week.